Hello, I am Angela Rodriguez. Among a lot of things, I'm a Colombian citizen. I was born in Colombia. I have lived all my life in Colombia, but I have never been in a peaceful country. Neither have my parents or my grandparents. Conflict in Colombia started almost 60 years ago, and we actually have the second largest number of refugees in the world after Syria. We have 6 million refugees, most of them internal refugees in a country of 40 million people. 15 of those 40 live in poverty or have been affected somehow by conflict. Colombia is a country of privileges. There are elites in politics, there are elites in economics, in education, and somehow, even though I'm not part of that elite, I feel that I have some privileges. I was born in the capital city, which allows me, I don't know, just being alive for the most of it. I went to school, which is really hard to do in Colombia. I can speak another language, which is really difficult from someone from there. So even though I have not been directly hit by the conflict, I mean, all my life have been affected. And not only my life, but people from millions of people have been affected for that. There have been several actors in this conflict. We have guerrilla, we have various numbers of guerrillas, we have paramilitary groups, and at the end, we have just criminal bands everywhere, all over the country. We're currently going to a peace process with FARC, which is the oldest guerrilla in the world. They were born with a good idea. It was to end up these exclusions of the elites towards everyone else. But suddenly, and like a long time ago, that idea changed. And it became just about drug dealing and making money out of illegal sources. For the past, I don't know, 25 years since I can recall, every day of my life, I have heard news about kidnapping, terrorism, bombing, people getting killed or excluded. But that stopped on July this year. And why did that stop? Because we start a peace process. It's sadly to say, but it's not our first peace process. We have been through 10 peace processes. Most of them have failed. The last one actually was with FARC again. And it occurred and failed on 1998. And after that, most of Colombian people decided that it was enough, that it was time to start military actions. And that's why they choose, one of the main reasons why they choose our former president. And he responded to that and actually did it. So we have several years of humanitarian crisis, of conflict, of fear. And since 2012, the new president started peace talks. The peace talks with FARC are taking place in Cuba, in La Habana. Why? Because all of the past talks have been placed in Colombia and all of them failed. And because they're a leftist guerrilla, and somehow they feel like they have guarantees under the Cuban government, which has been working really well. There are 5 points being discussed in this peace process. The first one has to do with land concentration. Most of it is concentrated. Second has to do with political participation. This whole conflict started for political reasons, for the way a group of people wanted to rule the world, rule our country, and how there were someone else who disagreed. So the bottom reason of this conflict is politics. Then we have the third point that has to do with drug dealing, which obviously we want to end, and FARC has committed to. The fourth point has to do with actual measures for ending up the conflict. We have huge problems on taking all these needs and processes to practice, and one of them has to do with landmines. We have a lot, like almost 50% of the country is under landmines. For me, as an individual, that's not a problem. For me, as a citizen, as a part of a community, it is a huge problem. Kids can't go to school because they have mines on their way. They even send their dogs first to try to find mines, and then they walk to school. So that's the fourth point. And the fifth has to do with victims. And this is very important. We have a huge discussion at this point because FARC, they think they're victims too. And somehow they are. But at the same, they're also guilty. And this is where the whole debate about justice starts, about believing or not in the peace process, and there is a huge opposition. I don't agree with that. I mean, I have been living all my life with this, so all I have is faith and belief. But there's people who actually have been really hit by conflict, and they want justice for them, not general justice for everyone. For their cases, they want to see exactly the person who killed his brother in jail or suffering something like that. And it's so easy to see their reasons, but at the same time, we're looking for a better country. And in some cases, you have to establish general rules to achieve what you're looking for, especially in such a huge society. So that's basically what I work for every day. I work for the Netherlands Institute for Multi-Party Democracy in Colombia. And what we're trying to do is fostering a democratic environment. It doesn't sound like a lot, but for us, bringing people to talk, not the usual people who talks and decides, but being able to build capacity in young people, in women, in ethnic groups, to overcome their reality and make proposals about getting better, about how things will be in a peaceful country. It's what inspired me to still be in there. Because to be honest, most of my friends and some of my family is no longer living there, and you can get the reasons why. So that's what I do. That's somehow, in some way, I support the idea of FARC becoming a political party and following the rules like everyone does or wants to do, because that's the future. I mean, we used to talk about the post-conflict scenario, and now we get that there's post-signature scenario, because the conflict doesn't end with the signature. It is a huge process. We're going to need willingness, we're going to need funds, we're going to need help, but at the same time, it's the opportunity to almost rebuild our own country. And I know it's going to cost time, it's going to cost effort, but it can be worse than what we have been through, so that's my bet going for it. Thank you.